You don't have to make big claims in your ads, and you don't have to make big promises, and you don't even have to talk about yourself. As a matter of fact, if you stop doing that and you start using case studies that don't even have to be about you, most likely your sales will skyrocket. And the reason I'm telling you this is because back in 1933, a teenager started doing it while he was living in a tent, and he made money using case studies for 48 consecutive years. So in today's video, I'll tell you a little bit about who he was and what he did and how he did it. But most importantly, I'll show you how you can use AI to come up with real case studies to help you sell more stuff faster. Let's get into it. So here's a short version of the story. There was this dude, his name was George Haylings. He was from Detroit, and he was like, I don't want to live in Detroit anymore. I'm going to move to Southern California. He was 19 at the time. He sold his car for $200, moved to Southern California, lives in a tent, and he lived off $2 a week out of a tent for 2 years. And he would allow himself $1.50 per week for food and stuff, and then 50 cents to charge his radio batteries. Yeah. Your guess is as good as mine on that one with the radio batteries, but whatever, really like wild situation. So he was like, man, I don't want to be broke, and he ended up having this idea. He was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to sell books and stuff through the mail. And he starts his business, and he ends up going from $2 a week to $100 a week, which again, this is in 1933. So $100 a week was a big deal. As a matter of fact, to put it into context, the average person would make $25 a week in Southern California back then. And his dad worked at a factory, something to do with cars, and his dad was making $40 a week. And George ends up making $100 a week just when he's starting out, selling these books and stuff through the mail. And his girlfriend's parents thought he was an actual gangster, like a criminal, because he was making so much money and he just seemed like a regular dude, And like I said a minute ago, he had a 48-year career. He even sold books while he was in the military, serving in World War II. He was like still doing it successfully. Who knows how you can pull that off? That's amazing. But here are like some of the titles of his books. And it's easy to look at these and be like, oh, dude, okay. Another person selling get rich quick stuff, which is exactly what his market thought when they saw the titles of his books. So he was like, man, I've got to find a way to stand out because this market's super crowded and, it's tough. Nobody believes anything. Nobody believes anything now. Nothing has changed. So they're probably more skeptical now than they were then. So he was like, okay, how am I going to do it differently? How am I going to figure this out? And he becomes obsessed with proving that the concepts in his book were real. And he would do that through case studies. And none of the books were about him because he was just a random dude that was writing books. Like he didn't do any of these businesses himself. So he would hear about, something like interesting happening, and then he would document it as a case study. And he would use that case study in his marketing, and they would have a framework. So they would follow this. This, by the way, is a real case study of his. So this was case study number 283, and he had 713 of them, by the way. And it was who, what, how, and numbers. So he heard about this farmer's daughter, that's the who, by the way, and she was selling artichoke flowers. And what was interesting about this, and there was always like something kind of weird about it, What was interesting about this is that artichoke flowers, I didn't know this, they throw them away. Like if you're an artichoke farmer, I guess you eat the artichokes, but the flowers, they're like, yeah, get rid of the flowers. So the daughter was like, I don't know, maybe people will buy them. They lived in a tourist area. So she set up a little roadside stand selling artichoke flowers to tourists, and she made $5 to $10 a day, which, this is when, the average person was making $25 a week, and she was making, $5 to $10 a day, just chilling on the side of the road, selling artichoke flowers, which they were going to throw away anyway. And I think that's why his method was so successful, because when you see that story, it doesn't come across as a pitch. First of all, think about it this way. Ad number one, pitch number one is, hey, you can make money. Or pitch number two is, there's this farmer's daughter who is making $5 to $10 a day selling artichoke flowers that they were going to throw away anyway. Obviously, the story one gets your attention more and is like, lowers the defenses and stuff. And what's interesting is his model, this was his whole business model, 48 years. I don't know exactly how much money this dude made. I did some research. One thing I found was he has so much money, he stored it in a cellar until he ran out of room in the cellar and finally deposited it into a bank. So that's kind of awesome. But he would run an ad and he would get a lead that way. So people would see the ad, mail something far away, sit around and wait, and then go to the mailbox and then get his stuff. And he would send follow-up campaigns through the mail. The stuff he would send them would be case studies, and that would get people interested enough to buy his books and things. And the model that he used is the same thing we do today. We just, instead of classified ads in the newspaper, we just generate opt-ins through Facebook ads or YouTube ads or whatever, and then we send them emails, and then that drives people to our websites, and from there we can get a sale. And usually the emails and the websites have big, giant, promises and crazy claims on them. But if we use case studies and the proof, doesn't even have to be about us, then we're probably going to sell more stuff. And what's really cool is you can even arrange it like this. So let's say you have a website that sells a thing, whatever. You can have a whole bunch of ads, and each ad can actually be a different case study that proves the overall concept behind whatever the thing is you're selling is real. That's how I promote my software, which is called ojoy.ai. Every video that I make on YouTube is essentially a case study and a demonstration showing you how to do it and proving to you that it works. And it's rarely about me, because you don't care about me. You care about, hey, how can I sell more of my stuff and have a good time and, enjoy my life? So that's what this video is about. Now, one thing is it took George Haylings 4 freaking years to compile enough case studies to make his very first book, according to all the research I did. I mean, there's not a whole lot published about this guy. But anyway, that's a little longer than I would prefer to work. I'm pretty sure you would rather do it faster as well. So what I've done for you is I've written a little prompt you can use, and we'll do it right now, and we'll find some cool case studies to sell some stuff, and we'll even make some cool marketing materials out of them. So we'll use this prompt. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to take this prompt and I'll copy it. I'm going to change it a little bit, actually, but I'll copy it, and I'm going to come over here to ojoy.ai, and instead of saying find me 10 case studies of people getting results in your market, I'm just going to paste here for us. There we go. Find me case studies of people who dramatically increase their personal income or their business revenue by changing their sales copy. Preferably small, random, obscure, and weird businesses as opposed to big corporations. And then the rest of it's the same prompt. All right, so it's found some, and this one's pretty cool, but the name's not disclosed here. This one's pretty cool. The smiley cookie one looks pretty cool. Trucker's Report looks cool as well. This one's solid right here if we wanted to use case studies about email marketing. So I'm choosing marketing stuff because it's something we can all relate to. And obviously, Ojoy can write really good emails. So if I wanted to use a case study to prove the power of good emails, I could use this. But it was like, dude, I couldn't really find that much random, obscure stuff like you wanted, which granted, I did ask for random, obscure stuff. So I was like, okay, just find whatever you can. So this is pretty sweet. It gave me a lot of case studies, and let's say that I wanted to use these case studies to promote Ojoy, because Ojoy helps you write better copy and stuff. So all of these are studies about how better words and stuff led to more money. So what I like to do is, instead of just blindly following what AI says, I like to see for myself. So one of these things was where it found these 9 different split test results here, where people made more money by changing stuff. And rather than reading the whole thing, what I would like to do is I'm just going to copy all of this text here. I don't know if it'll get all the graphics or not, but that's okay. I'm going to see if I can get Project Papillon just to write me some case study material based on what I've copied. Now, this is going to be a rough draft, but check it out. Okay, I need your help in writing some case study materials that will help me support the argument that if you fix your sales copy, you'll probably sell more stuff. And I have an AI tool that helps people fix their sales copy. So that's the context. With that said, I'm going to paste some stuff from one of the websites below, and I want you to read through it and see what I can use in there to help promote my own business. All right, brilliant prompting there, and I'll just hit paste. There we go. And it's probably going to need some of these images. We'll see. Okay, so it's telling me like, hey man, give me the graphics so I can do a better job for you. So I will. So here's the one from Fiverr. So I'll give it that, let it work its magic. And what was the other one? Upspring. Okay. Here's the one for Upspring. And this is the one for the self-journal. Sweet. So now it's like gone through these pictures and stuff, and it's like, all right, that's awesome. So what I want it to do is I want to be able to use each one of these as a separate little mini case study that I can use in an ad or in follow-up or whatever, that basically makes the point that like, hey, if you just change some words and stuff, you never know. So I'll tell it that. Okay, here's what I need you to do. I want to use each one of these as a separate mini case study. So I want to write a little blurb about it, say what happened, give the specifics. I will include the image, so just imagine that the image is included, and give some pointers and tie it all back to, you know, if you use AI to improve your copy, you'll probably sell more stuff. So write me like a rough draft of the first one. Now, I don't care what the rough draft sounds like. I can make it sound cool in a minute in my actual copywriting tool here in Ojoy. I'm just going to get the first little part of it done in Project Papillon, because this will actually make for a really cool follow-up sequence. If you think about it, I can basically take these little case studies and turn them into little short videos and then throw them up on social media and have them all promoting Ojoy. So it's the same thing that Haylings was doing, but instead of doing it over email, I can do it on social or both. It can be a little follow-up sequence for people on my list. Pretty cool. All right, let's see what we got. So Papillon gives it to you in Markdown, or you can like look at a preview of it like this, and you can see what it looks like all fancy. I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to give this to Project Shepard. All right, so I started a new chat, and check this out. I'm going to give you a brief case study about how Fiverr got better results by changing their sales copy. And I want you to read it, understand everything, and help me write it so that it sounds cool. And this is going to go out as like a little email or social media post. And the whole point of it is that, hey, if you make your sales copy better, you'll probably sell more stuff, and you can make your sales copy better with AI. Here's how. So if you see anything usable in this that I can like give to the viewer or the reader as a tip, then, include it. Okay, here's the case study. Notice I'm not having to type anything. Thank God. That's too much for me with all this typing business. So I'll just put it in brackets because I'm weird. I don't know if that matters, but off we go there. All right, now it might keep asking me questions, because the more questions it asks, the more it knows and the better of a job it can do, besides, so it won't sound like AI. So I'll just be like, just make it, like 400 to 500 words or less. Keep it super simple. And just stop asking me questions and write some stuff. Very friendly. Hopefully AI doesn't take over the world and be like, remember that time you were rude to me on camera? Oh man, I'd be hosed. All right. So now I can take this and I could reword it, make it sound more like me. In this case, let's say, all right, this is pretty cool. I want you to rewrite this as a social post. So I'm going to paste a sample of some of my own writing below for social media. Just read it, learn my style and tone, pacing, vocabulary, diction, and all that stuff, and then rewrite this thing exactly like I would write it and make it a little shorter. And you know what would be cool is if this post, so I am actually going to make this into a post. I'm going to take this graphic right here, the before and after. I'll show this, I'll tell the story, and I'll turn it into a social post, which is awesome. Let's do one more because this is cool. So now I'll have it do the one. Now I'm in Project Papillon again. I had it write a little case study for me about how that self-journal thingy increased their sales, and I'm just going to copy it. So this is what that looks like, fancy. I'm just going to copy this, put it in Project Shepard, and make it sound cool, and we'll use it as a social post. And I'm going to go back to the chat we were in because it already knows how to write like me. Cool, thank you. I'm going to give you another case study. This one's about a journal company. So just read it and turn it into a social post that sounds exactly like me. Keep it short but informative, and make sure you keep my style and tone. I will be including the before and after image at the top of the social post for this one, just for your reference. Alrighty, so notice I didn't even read the thing that the other one wrote for me. I'm sure it was fine, but this is built to actually write, for people who like writing marketing type of stuff. Great, so here's a post with a case study that is showing that if you change copy, a couple of words can really make a big difference. It's not about me. It's just like, hey, this is what can happen. Ojoy can help you with that. There you go. Maybe you should try it. And what's cool is you, me, anybody, we could find case study after case study after case study about whatever we wanted to and just make a gazillion of these, just like George Haylings did, and probably just crush it, either with email follow-up or just constantly using it in our ads. So that's the story of George Haylings. This is how case studies are likely going to help you make more sales than if you just go out and make big claims and big promises. And the coolest part is they don't have to be about you. And they're helpful to your audience. So it's really a win all around. All right. Thanks so much for watching this. If you want to try Ojoy for free, it works real good. You can try it at ojoy.ai. All right. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.